Okay, this time the question is the polynomial px cube plus 4x square minus 3x plus q is completely divisible by x square minus 1. Then find the values of p and q. Also, for these values of p and q, factorize the given polynomial completely, right? So first of all, let us try to understand this factor. If I am dividing this polynomial, big polynomial, with x square minus 1, right, then something like this is happening. Let us understand in terms of numbers first, right? So let us assume that I am talking about number 24, right? And if I say that 24 is divisible, is completely divisible by 12, okay, so this statement is true. But what I can deduce from this statement is that 24 then should be further divisible by 3 as well as 4. This is true, correct? 24 is divisible by 3 as well as 24 is divisible by 4, right? So if someone has given you that this polynomial is divisible by x square minus 1, then this means that we can say, we can actually factorize, which we have done in case of 12 also. What we did, we factorized 12 and wrote it as 3 into 4, right? Okay, so similarly, if it is divisible by x square minus 1, we can actually factorize this and write it as x minus 1 into x plus 1, right? So if this polynomial is divisible by this quantity, it is individually divisible by x minus 1 as well as individually divisible by x plus 1, which means that we are given here two different factors, x plus 1 as well as x minus 1, right? Now what to do? We have this polynomial with us, px is equal to px cube plus 4x square minus 3x plus q, right? So now, since x minus 1 is the factor, so p of 1 value should be equal to 0. And since x plus 1 is the factor, that's why p of minus 1 should be equal to 0, right? But what is p of 1? P of 1 is the value we get when we substitute 1 in place of x. So what will we get? We will get p plus 4 minus 3 plus q if I substitute 1 in place of x, right? And what is p of minus 1? The value which we get when we substitute x equal to minus 1. So that will become minus of p plus 4 plus 3 plus q, right? So there are these two equations in p and q. If we solve these equations, we will get our values of p and q, right? So these equations on simplifying should look like p plus q plus 1 is equal to 0, the first equation, right? And the second equation should look like p minus q minus 7 equal to 0, right? You need to multiply minus in this second equation to get this, right? So if you have these two equations, what you can do, you can add these two equations, right? If you add these two equations, q and minus q will get cancelled and you will get 2p minus 6 equal to 0, right? And which will give you p is equal to 3. And if you already have these equations, what is q? Q is equal to p minus 7, which is q is equal to minus 4, right? So we have now with us both the values of p and q. But the second part of the question is what? The second part of the question is find the, if using these values of p and q, we have to factorize the new polynomial completely, right? So if we use these values of p and q, what will be our polynomial, right? So our polynomial now will become, polynomial px will become 3x square plus 4x square, 3x cube minus 4x square minus 3x minus 4, right? So now what you can do, you can club first and third term. If you do this, you can take 3x common and you will be left with x square minus 1 inside. Next you can combine 4x square and minus 4. If you take 4 common, you will be left with x square minus 1 inside, right? Now further in these two terms, you can take x square minus 1 common, so you will get x square minus 1 into 3x plus 4, and x square minus 1 can be further factorized as x minus 1 into x plus 1 into 3x plus 4. This is how you can factorize the given polynomial completely after using the values of p and q which we just found.